And now I'm gonna talk about each category I came up with and what my favorite book was in that category. I'm gonna start with comics. I got into graphic novels this year, and I wanted to just give an honorable mention to the comic book that kind of got me into that, and that was Miss Marvel. I read all 4 in 2015. There's no more out yet, which I hope more come out soon. I really like this. And this is both, it features a Muslim woman whose parents are immigrants, which is really interesting to me. I like to learn more about other cultures, and knowing several people that are Muslims and their family immigrated, I can say, like, I was already kind of aware of the culture, and this does fit in pretty well. So I'm really happy with these. It's really fun, quirky, interesting, and it features a woman POC, and that's really hard to find, especially in graphic novels. My best YA book of the year is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. This shouldn't really surprise anyone because I did give this to a couple of people for their Christmas presents. This book is so incredibly beautiful. It features 2 boys, and I don't really want to say anything because spoilers, although I think if you read the back you can figure it out. But it's so beautiful. My favorite fantasy book is The Golem and the Jinni by Helene Wecker. Again, this shouldn't surprise anyone. I raved about this for months. It's another really beautiful book. It features a golem and a jinni and their separate stories, and then they meet and their stories intertwine. And this is another really beautiful book. Now for my audiobook recommendations, I don't know if you're going to be able to see them on my phone, but I will try to show the covers on my phone. My best realistic fiction book is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. I'm sorry. This book was heartbreaking. It tells the story of what happens after a teenager dies and how that relates to everyone's lives, and every chapter is basically a short story. Some of them take place in the past, some of them take place in the future, and they're just beautiful and heartbreaking and sad, and I loved it. Oh, it disappeared. And I loved it. I recommend this book, but it's a very sad book, so I know it's not for everyone. Okay, Google. Modern romance. But the next book I also listened to an audiobook, and this is the book I chose for best nonfiction. Aziz Ansari, Modern Romance, with help from, I think his name's Eric Klinenberg. I should know how to say this because I listened to the book, so they pronounced it, but I'm sorry, I don't. This book is mostly about how romance and dating has changed due to the internet and due to advances in technology. He talks about online dating and Tinder, and just societal changes and all, how our attitudes towards sex have changed from those of our parents and grandparents. And this was a really interesting book. It's written by a comedian, so I didn't think it was going to be as based in fact. I thought it was going to be more like his experience, which he does talk about. But because Aziz Ansari is a comedian, I thought it was going to be like not fictional, but just not as well researched as it was. I highly recommend it. It was a great read, especially on audiobook. I love Aziz Ansari. The best graphic novel I read this year, hands down, no competition, Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. I really hope she comes out with some more books soon because this was gorgeous, incredible. It's several short stories that all have the theme, the woods. And they're just kind of scary if you get scared easily. I guess kind of spooky might be the better word because most people probably don't get scared easily. If you do, don't read this at night. But the art is beautiful. Just random page here. The art is beautiful. The stories were well thought out. It's incredible. I love it. I know everything's coming down to I love it, but these are my favorites of the year, so I love all of them. Best mystery, Career of Evil by Robert Galbraith. This is Jo Rowling's pseudonym. If you weren't familiar with these books, it's the 3rd in the series. They feature a detective, Cormoran Strike, and his secretary. And this book actually has chapters that are told from the bad guy's point of view. And Jo is so freaking good at writing at bad guy's point of view. Like, she should do it way more than she does. I was so pleasantly surprised with that. I flew through this book. I read it in pretty much one sitting. minus maybe having dinner and going to the bathroom a couple of times. I loved this book so much. I highly recommend it. Next is Best Magical Book, and for this one I chose Lexicon by Max Barry. It would have been a close choice between this and The Night Circus, but I started The Night Circus in 2014. I think I finished it January 1st, so I didn't really count that. But this book is like words have magic, and some of the words aren't real words. You need to kind of figure it out, how it affects the person. And I thought this was so good because it could have been true. It could have been realistic. It's just words, and they're not like common words, so nothing I've said in this video. But you don't need to have special abilities. You don't fly or anything like that. It was just incredibly interesting and well written. And I can't believe this book isn't more popular. It's so good. Next is I chose to count this book as the best inspiring book, and that is Zen Pencils. I really wanted to include this book somehow because, again, it was such an interesting read. You don't have to read it all at once because they're little individual snippets. And I should put it over here. I think it'll show better. But this book was just, inspiring is the only word for it. But you can find most of them online if you don't want to pay for it. Next is the best series, and I read this entire series in 2015, and it is the Lunar Chronicles series. I've actually lent out the first couple of books, so I don't have them right now, so I'm just showing Winter. Again, I should show it over here. Why do I keep doing that? Caroline, this is the side they can see better, I think. I don't know, I don't have a front screen camera. Anyway, this series is magical retellings of classic fairy tales, like sci-fi, fantasy, futuristic-y. So the first book you find out incredibly early on, so I don't feel like it's a spoiler, is Cinderella, and it's called Cinder, so it's a little obvious. And she's a cyborg, and I love new retellings of classic fairy tales so everyone knows the story, and I love seeing how they make that modern. It's just really interesting to me. I have a lot of fun reading books like that, so this series was like an instant hit to me. I can't believe I didn't find out about it until this year. Like, where was my head? Where was I when everyone was reading the first couple? So I highly recommend this series if you're like me. They're a little young. My aunt thinks they're a little young, but she's still enjoying them. But I love taking something classic that everyone knows and making it new and current. I'm such a fan of that, so these books were right up my alley. And my last favorite is my best thriller. And I counted this different from mystery because, like, that book, Career of Evil, it didn't really make my heart beat fast. I wasn't really scared really at all. It was just more interesting and figuring out who it was, which it was my first thought, but then Joe made you change your mind a couple times. And this book was not like that. This book was heart racing, like a little scary, I guess, in a way. So I count them thrillers and mysteries different. And my best thriller was Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. I know everyone says Gillian, but it's spelled exactly the same as like Gillian Anderson, who plays Scully. So I think it's Gillian. Who the hell knows, right? So I'm gonna say Gillian. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but that's how it's spelled to me. And this is by the author of Gone Girl, but honestly, I think this book is better than Gone Girl. I loved it. I haven't read her other books yet. I think she has 2 more. I've only read Gone Girl and Dark Places, but this book is so good. It takes place in dual timelines. The first one, our main character is a kid, and the second one, she's an adult, and she's figuring out what happened as a kid, and they both are kind of mysteries. They're both kind of thrilling in their own aspects. So this book was really interesting to me. I really loved it. If you like thrillers and if you liked Gone Girl, I recommend this book. And the last 2 books I'm going to mention are my worst books of the year, which sounds kind of shitty to do, but these were just very disappointing to me. Okay, Google, Armada by Ernest Cline. Spoilers! Now everyone knows Ernest Cline wrote Ready Player One, and everyone loved that book. It wasn't exceptionally well written, but I also loved that book, so getting this was a no-brainer. I went out and got it on the release date, and I was so disappointed. I think I've talked about this before, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but it takes place in the future. So the main character's dad was about our age. So all of these 80s references that our main character does to feel closer to his dad, who he's never really known, were hipster when his dad was alive. So they're like triple hipster 20 years in the future when this kid is a teenager. So I was very disappointed with that. Stop turning off on me. And I thought it was incredibly unrealistic that his friends would also know. He has this history with it. It was relating him to his dad, making him feel close to his dad. So it makes sense that he would get his dad's references. But there's no way his friends would. There's no way that would be like pop culture again. That was so unrealistic. And then it was slow, it dragged on, and the fight scenes like weren't that exciting to me. This book was just an all-around flop to me. I will probably still pick up his next book because I really did like Ready Player One. I thought the concept was interesting and the jokes were interesting, but Armada just fell flat. I think I gave it a 2 stars. And next is going to be my only 1-star book of the year. And the fact that this next book was so disappointing is just so sad to me. It's even more sad than Armada being disappointing, and that is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. Everyone, everywhere, this makes the best of list. At my university's bookstore, I saw this cover and I was instantly drawn to it. Some of my favorite YouTubers have given it 5 stars and have just been talking about how much they love it. And everywhere, love, 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 5 stars, best book of the year. And I hated this book. Not one single character was likable, and I'm a fan of unlikable narrators and untrustworthy narrators, unreliable narrators. I'm a fan of that, so this had that going for me. I think that's really interesting and a bold style choice, but not one single character was likable. Every single character, maybe I started out liking them, but by the end I was like, you deserve whatever's coming to you. You're a horrible person. You've made that decision before and you think it's going to turn out any different this time? Because it's not. Every single character. There was not one single character I felt pity for. There was not one single character that I wanted the best for. Not one single character I liked. It was just horrible. And then the chapters, I swear she had a template and she just filled it in with whatever was going to happen that chapter. For Rachel, that was, I'm not going to have a drink today. I'm a drunk and I'm not going to have a drink today. I'm going to get sober. Something happens. Her life is not going her way because she's unemployed currently. She lost her job due to her drinking. And then by the end of the chapter, she's drunk again. Despite there being several characters trying to help her, despite her saying she's going to start going to AA meetings, I know alcoholics, so I know relapses happen, and I know you might want to change, but don't change. But having known alcoholics, I find that incredibly unrealistic. They can all go one single day without a drink, or they don't think about it all day. They're not like, I'm not going to drink today. They just go home and they drink because it's their habit. I don't know anyone whose life follows a friggin' template. And then, like, the other main characters were just so bitchy. What's her name? The new wife to Rachel's ex-husband was just so bitchy. Her chapters always went, I'm so hot, men look at me. My husband cheated on Rachel with me, but he would be stupid to cheat on me. I'm so hot. There's no way he's gonna cheat on me. Oh, I feel so bad for that girl. She's so ugly. That was all her chapters were. And the third woman, Megan, who's the, I guess it's kind of obvious because I've already listed 2 characters, so whatever, but Megan's the third character. And she is just a hopeless romantic who's stuck in her daydream, who thinks she deserves anything she wants and doesn't have to work for it, I guess. I didn't click with any of them. I didn't think any of them could have been my friends or my family. It was just awful. This book was awful. And then the mystery wasn't even a mystery. I guessed it like the second chapter. I knew who did it. It was just... That book was the only book I gave 1 star this year. And that was so disappointing because everyone loved it and I wanted to love it. But I didn't. Okay, now that that rant's over, I am gonna go, and happy 2016! How was your 2015 in reading? Let me know. I guess that's that. Bye.